All right, let's see if I can hear myself nice and loud. Make sure right mic is coming through. Okay. Give it a moment. Okay, yeah, it is. Perfect. It is. Okay. Okay. That is ready to go. Don't need the headphones anymore. I'll move that over here. What's this one? Move this over here. So just, of course, on Kick, I get a spam bot straight away as usual. Right on cue. And let me just move this up. Oh, there we go. That's right. That is right. And we are, oh, wrong one. And we are good to go. Okay. We're on time. Kind of. So this screen. Road, no, turn that off. We'll start that. And finally, oh, nearly forgot. Start recording locally as well. Okay. All right. I think we are ready. Ready to go. Well, it is. Right on time. Okay. All right. Let's get this going. Let's get this going. Cool. Let's switch over to the main feed and let's have a bit of fun tonight. So if you have any questions, please chuck them in. More than happy to answer them. And before we begin, I just want to quickly mention that I do have a WebWash Premium community. You can learn more about it by going to webwash.net/premium. And I do have a lifetime deal. Essentially, it's what I'm doing for now is uploading these live streams so they are ad free. And I am in the process of actually, believe it or not, going to do a series of actual build live streams as well, where we're going to build the one type of website, which is a Next.js site, and then we're going to right now. And that's kind of like the base site, and we're going to build it, I'm thinking, in 3 different ways. It is a Bootstrap based site, so we're going to build it in 3 different ways, and that's going to come up very soon. And I'm kind of excited about that. And you'll be able to watch all of that stuff. You'll still be able to watch it on YouTube, but you'll be able to watch it ad-free here on the premium community. And you can also ask for help in the community section as well. So if you want to support the channel, head over to webwash.net/premium. Okay, so I just had to pay the bills for now. So let's just first, I just need to turn off a few things. Not sure where that sound's coming from. Anyway, cool. All right, cool. So let's get into it. So what happens if you deploy on a Friday, or I don't know, you go to a website and you get this? You get the dreaded white screen of death, as it's commonly known. The website encountered an unexpected error. Try again later. This is what I want to help you figure out, how to fix this up, how to figure out what the problem is, how to debug it, and then hopefully you can push up a quick fix. Now, I often get, well, I do get a lot of messages saying I installed a module in Drupal and I get an error. And I'm like, okay, so what is the error? And then I don't hear anything back. And it's kind of like, well, I need to know what the error is. And that's the first step of debugging something. You need to know exactly what the problem is. If you see this, you're like, okay, that's useless. I need to see what the error is. So tonight, I'm going to show you how to turn on error messages, how to display pretty error messages, because no one enjoys error messages, let's be honest. But if they look good, well, then it's, if they're designed well, then at least it's enjoyable. And then we're going to take a look at how to print variables. And finally, we'll finish things off by setting up Xdebug using DDEV, because we're using that as a local environment, using DDEV and setting it up in PhpStorm and VS Code. All right, so we've got our first comment. Really glad making these kind of videos and helping to promote Drupal. Well, thank you very much. Well, thanks for watching. I really appreciate it when people actually watch. I do my best with promoting Drupal. I do my best. Okay, let's now jump off this white screen of death. And how do we actually, in Drupal, display error messages? Well, the first thing we can do is jump over to configuration. And what you want to do is find log error, logging and errors. And then here you have a few options, okay? You have none, of course, that's what it's set at. And then you have error and warnings. And this will just display errors and warnings, but this is an actual parse error because there are a few different fatal errors and parsing errors and things like that in Drupal. Then you have all messages. And this one, if we take a look at that, there's nothing really different. But the one that I like to use is all messages with backtrace information, because that gives us a bit more info. So we can actually see things where we can actually see the stack essentially. And straight away, we can see that, okay, there's a syntax error. Okay, or there's a token error. All right, it's in this location. And I did manually go in there and break the site. So I had to kind of show you exactly what, how to kind of fix this problem up. But what happens if, let's just now set this back to none. Okay. What happens if the front end is broken, like in this case, but also the back end is broken? What happens then? Because if let me actually see, can I actually break this, like proper break? Let me try, no, let me proper break. See. And let me try that again. Let me clear that. Drush CR. All right, let's now go one step further. I really want to break this now. All right, okay. We've properly broken this now. And on the front end, okay. Now, sometimes what might happen is you cannot get access to the site, or you want to see a bit more information of where this is coming from, just like a bit more info. What you can do is you can turn on the error display through Drush. Now, let's see if this actually works. I'll be curious. What you can do is if you jump over here, and all I'm doing is I'm using the config get system logging error level, and that's going to be set to, well, hide. Okay. What we need to do is set it to verbose. So what we can do is jump over here and set it. Let me do that again because I need to type in DDEV Drush. And yes, we want to set that on. And if we pop back here, we're not going to see much information. All right, cool. So that was a failed attempt. Let me move that over here. And what I'll do is, let's just break it here again. So I do know now this is set. All right, perfect. There we go. All right, cool. All right. So now, okay, the front end's broken, but we can't log on to the back end. What we can do, believe it or not, is we can use this Drush config set and then error level verbose. And what this allows us to do is set it at the Drush level. And then without having to log into the backend, we get a lot more information. So this is a great way. If ever something happens where the front end and the back end's broken and you cannot log in, this is one way where you can easily get in there and simply change the config and have errors displayed. Now, one thing to be aware of is that if you are using DDEV, so let me pop that back in. Oh, no, we can leave it out for now. One thing to be aware of is if you go into default settings and then DDEV, DDEV comes with this feature where it automatically hard codes config. Now, this is a feature of Drupal. You can hard code config directly through the settings.php, and DDEV automatically does this through its settings.ddev.php. So if you come back here, you will see an error message which says these values are overridden. I don't know when this was put in. I feel like this is only recent, but maybe it's been there the whole time and I just haven't done this. I don't know. So if we change this to none, you'll see that it's not going to change anything. Oh, I think I remember where back in the day, if you were set to say verbose and you change it to none and you click on save, it wouldn't change the option. So you often thought something was broken, but this actually tells you straight away that it is overridden. And it's just a good way of knowing that something is overridden. So that is just one thing to be aware of. Okay, so we've got this error message. It's not the prettiest. Let's now fix it up so that it actually displays something useful. Now we do have a few options. But before we jump into that, one thing I do want to mention as well is if we come back into logging and errors and go to recent log messages, this is powered by the DB log. So the DB log message just logs any type of message that Drupal sends to the database. And you can see here we have all this PHP syntax error, and this gives us a lot of decent information. So if I go ahead here and delete it and hit this a few times, we will see these errors. So again, this is another way of just seeing what is available. And you could probably set something up where with a bit of custom code, you can do it, you can post these messages into Slack or something like that. But often on a decent sized Drupal, site, you will use syslog, which means you'll push this stuff into the system log and you wouldn't handle this directly in the database. And one thing to be aware of, and this is very important, is if you use database logging, I always like to use it locally, but I try and avoid using it online or on production, especially if you have a large website. But one thing you do want to take note of is if you come to logging and errors, you will see this database message, database log messages to keep, and it's set to 1,000. Make sure you set this either to 1,000 or say 10,000, never over that value, and never ever select all. And the reason for that is because if you select all, it's going to keep every single log. And I've had issues where it has produced a database table, which is honestly a couple of gig. So just be aware of that, okay? You can easily have a database table or a watchdog table, whatever it's called, which is a couple of gig in size. And I remember just a couple of months ago, I pulled down a database and I was like, why is this database like 6 gig? Like, why is it so big? And then I looked through it and I'm like, yep, there's one table and it was a DB log table that was like 3 gig. And it was a pretty big database, and that's why the DB log was huge, because it had a lot of traffic. So just be aware of that. All right. So again, coming back to this error message, let's fix it up so that it actually displays something useful. And the first module we're going to take a look at is called Web Profiler. Now, Web Profiler gives you a lot more than just pretty error messages. It gives you a toolbar, essentially, like web profile toolbar at the bottom of the page, and it gives you information about Drupal. Now, this comes from Symfony. Symfony has a similar feature. I think it's got a common component, like a Symfony toolbar or something like that. Now, one of the things that it does offer is a better looking error page. So what we're going to do is I will simply come to extend. I should already have it installed. We'll download it at least. There we go. And all you need to do is scroll down to the bottom and just grab the correct version. You can see here there are a few versions, and they all focus on specific versions of Drupal. So make sure you grab the correct version. Then come and click on install. Now it is going to download Devel, so just be aware of that. You will have to download the Devel module, which is okay because Devel also has a few features that we'll look at as well. And you can see right down at the bottom here, let me just bring this up. You can see this toolbar, it does say error. But most importantly, the reason why it says an error is because there is an error on the page. If we come here and refresh, we get a better looking error page. And we can see the full stack, and most importantly, we can see the error here and the exceptions. And if we have set this up, now unfortunately, I wasn't able to set up this feature because I am using DDEV. It's passing me the path to the file that's causing a problem, but for some reason it's giving me the remote path, and I just kind of ran out of time trying to debug it. But I have set this up when I've hosted a site locally. But when I mean locally, where everything's through the actual host OS operating system, not through, say, Docker, which DDEV is. So if you are looking for just a better looking error page, take a look at Web Profiler, because this gives you a lot of information here. And just quickly, what I'll do is let me fix this up so I can show you what Web Profiler actually does. I have covered Web Profiler in a different video, but there we go. You can see here, this is what it looks like. Let me make sure my head isn't covering it. No, it's not. Okay, cool. I just need to check in the feed that my head's not covering it. You can see here that it gives you a nice little toolbar, and it gives you all sorts of information, such as Ajax request, memory usage, user logged in. And then if you go to controller, that is useful. Where is it? Go to configure, and you can configure a few things here as well. And also a great feature is looking at the queries on the page as well. Very important, because essentially what this does is that Web Profiler, hence the name Web Profiler, every single page you go to, it kind of profiles it and gives you a snapshot of that page. So you don't want this turned on production, because you're just wasting resources. And if you go to reports, there we go, Web Profiler, you can see all the different pages. And you can easily see information about that particular page. How many blocks, how many views are loaded up, and So if you do go, let's go back to the home page. Let me bring this up. And we go to configure, you do have a lot more options here, like caching, assets, events. Events is probably a good one because you can see exactly what's getting fired off. And states, services, routes. Anyway, I don't want this to be all about Web Profiler. I do have a video. I've talked about Web Profiler a few times. So check it out. But one thing I will mention is that this is a great way, also to see the number of queries. And I mentioned that, but also if you do set up like Redis or Memcache, you can actually see how well your queries are cached based off how little amount of queries are produced. So if you were to clear the cache, let's do that. Let's have a look and clear the cache. So DDEV, what is it? DDEV Drush CR. Okay, so we've cleared the cache. And take note, okay? We have, 62 queries on this page. If we refresh, 575. And if we refresh again, 84, refresh again. There you go. And then it gets down to 50. I don't know how it went from 62 down to 50. Anyway, magic. See, Drupal self-improves. Awesome. Awesome stuff. All right. Now, the next module we're going to take a look at is called Ignition. Now, Ignition is actually a third-party package. And this module just integrates it with Drupal because, believe it or not, this is the main, I believe it's the error page for Laravel. And this is actually great about Drupal being PHP, is that you can use some of these components from other libraries or other communities. And we are doing that with Symfony components. Drupal uses a lot of Symfony components, and that was the whole thing back in the day of moving from 7 to 8 and getting off the island, as they used to say. Well, they probably still say it. I don't know. But I do remember that, where instead of Drupal building everything from scratch, it's like, let's use other components out there. And it's pretty cool that we can use this feature. All right, now setting this up, all you need to do is come down here and download it. However, as of today, I'll explain it. Installing it is a little harder because of dependencies. It's always dependencies, isn't it? With packages, it always is dependencies. So believe it or not, there's a feature where it can tell you, where you can use AI, because everything needs to be AI these days, of course, where you can set up your open AI keys locally, and then it'll use AI to figure out the error and tell you. Now, I didn't get that to work because I just tried it. But the thing is, though, it is pulling in the OpenAI SDK for PHP. And unfortunately, it's actually locked at an older version of it, but Drupal AI is pulling in a newer version of it. So what happens is, and let's see if this actually happens, because this happened today, which is because I just updated Drupal CMS, which also just updated and pulled in the new version of Drupal AI, which is 1.2. Dependencies. It's always dependencies. All right, so let's go DDEV. Let's see what happens. Is it going to spit the dummy? Yeah, it is. All right, cool. All right. So this is what I got today, and I literally tested this stuff out yesterday, and it worked. But essentially, what's happening is that I don't know who can actually read this. Every single time this comes up, I have to spend about 5 minutes. Seriously, I spent about 5 minutes trying to decipher this, because for me, it's just a jumbled mess of characters. All right, so the Drupal Ignition module depends on a OpenAI PHP client library, not SDK, sorry, client library. But it's locked it at a specific version, whereas we already have the 0.17 version thanks to the Drupal AI module. So to really get around this, what we can do is, let me bring this up, or let's take this down to the bottom. We can put in a dash uppercase W, and it's going to downgrade the OpenAI package. However, that's not a long-term solution, because if you are using the Drupal AI stuff and you want to use this as well, you're going to have problems. So one solution is to, I don't know, create an issue and ask them to update it and possibly move this functionality into a separate module. I don't know. There's a few things, but yeah, this only started happening today, unfortunately. But this is the joys of developing. You know, you always have dependency issues. Always have dependency issues. All right. Let's take a quick look at some questions. Oh, sorry, missed them. All right, first question on LinkedIn. All right, can't stick around. You might want to mention raw debug module. Well, that sounds, all I need is designed to work in Drupal if Drupal is completely broken. Oh, great. I will check that out probably at the end. Another one is on YouTube, a bit out of left field. Was Drupal going to develop a module marketplace that would allow you installing directly from Drupal itself? Drupal does have a project browser. Yes, it does. Drupal does have a project browser. I have a question. If a website is completely broken, I won't be having access to the front end, right? Like, how can I install modules and get error messages working? All right. You can, well, if your site is completely broken, what you can do is run the Drush command that I showed. You probably missed that, but there is a Drush command that you can run from the terminal. And let me grab that. Give me a moment. Okay. SSH. And we'll just take a look at that. Thank you. All right. And there is a, let me just, yep. Now the marketplace is, now coming back here to the question. Where is it? So Drupal CMS does have a project browser, but it's not really a marketplace as yet, but it does have a project browser. But coming back to the question about if your site is fully broken, see, this is where you have to make sure that your hosting is actually sending and, you know, set up in a way where it is sending errors as well. If you do hit an error, very important. All right. So coming back to Ignition. So as I mentioned, as of this recording, there is a bit of an issue with the packages, especially with the open, well, specifically with the OpenAI packages. So hopefully that can be fixed up in the near future. Now, another thing to be aware of is that there is a tweak you need to make to your settings, because WebProfiler likes to take over the error page. So if we go into settings.ddev, what we need to do is, if you are using the web profiler module, what you need to do is add in one extra change, and here it is. You need to switch it off. So you need to have the error page disabled. So that's going to stop it from taking over, because web profiler is pretty useful. You may want both. because, why can't you have both? All right, so we've got that. So now all we need to do is jump over here. Let's close that. Let's refresh and search for ignition. There we go. Turn the key and it just works. It should. Let's see. All right. So if we go to the home page, yes, it's working. Okay, that's great. Now let's go ahead and break it. Where is it? Where was my little trusty break? There we go. And we hit it and look at that. We have broken it. Now, one thing I do love about this module is that it actually shows you the code, which is great, which is absolutely awesome. You can straight away see where it is broken, and it gives you a nice stack here. And if you scroll down, it just gives you so much good information of what is actually broken. And yeah, I mean, it works very well. Well, if you click up here, you see context, and you can also switch between themes, dark, of course, dark mode, light mode, why not, auto. And I do believe the editor. So when you do, again, click on it, it's meant to take you, but again, I couldn't get this to work properly. I need to probably spend a bit more time looking at it to get my head around it exactly. But again, this is a great, just the ability to see the actual error here and where the code is breaking is absolutely awesome. So at this point, we've looked at how to see the error pages and just how to see what type of error you get. Because the first part of debugging something, the most important part of debugging is, first of all, seeing what the error is. That's the first thing. No matter what, if somebody comes to me and says, my Drupal site is down, and I'm like, what's the error? I don't know. It's like, I can't debug it. You can't. Like, it's like, unless you can give me the steps, or even better, it's like, can you give me the steps to debug it? I don't know. I don't remember. It's like, all right, well then, can't really help you there. Okay. So now I want to show you, let me fix this up. Now I want to look at how to actually print out variables. So we're going to start off with the basics. We're going to start off with the absolute basics, because I know every single time I bring up printing out variables, there's always a comment saying, oh, just use Xdebug. It's like, yes, we're going to get to Xdebug. Don't get me wrong. We will get to Xdebug. But it's just important to go through all of the options. And the first one we're going to take a look at is the print R function. Simple. Okay. So if we come in here and chuck this in, well, let's just remove the attributes and look at the variables. Okay. And we refresh. What we need to do is turn off caching. That's the first thing we need to do. So let's go here and I will go to development settings and let's just turn it off. And let's just run this. The first thing you're going to get is memory allocation error. It's just ran out of memory. Okay. So using printer in Drupal, because it does pass a lot through, it's not just an array, it's objects and arrays and stuff like that. You will get this pretty quickly. So what you want to do is just probably target exactly what you want to see. So let's just do attributes, and that is fairly light. And I do know that up the top, you probably can't see it. Right up the top, it gets printed out there. Okay. That's not that useful because it's right up the top and you can't really see it within this screen. So there are a few options. So Drupal out of the box, believe it or not, gives us, the first one is dump. Now this is, I think, part of the Symfony var dump package. So if we come along in here, it's going to give us a nice little output up the top. And best of all, we can drill down. And you can see just how much data is actually passed through to the variables array. Look at that. Look at that. It's actually loaded entities. It's everything. There you go. Everything is passed through it. Now you'll see up the top here, okay, it gets thrown up the top, and most of the time it's getting displayed nicely. And what I mean by that is I've had situations where the 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 outputted code isn't rendered correctly, and it's actually even harder to see. Because if you were to say, click on, see, right, view source, it's like, even if you view the page source, that is not useful. And in this case, if you are going to view the page source, it's actually better to use printer because you can actually see it. But yeah, here you can't really see it. So the other option you have is called DD. That's another function. Now, DD just means dump and die. Essentially, it's going to output it, but then it's going to stop the request from continuing. So the page just dies. So you essentially just get a white page with the outputted variable. And that's it. So there might be situations where, I don't know, you're building out an API or something and you just want to dump and die, and that's it. Dump and die. So you do have those options. Now, these come out of the box with Drupal. So they're actually not bad. Pretty useful. Pretty useful. Now let's go back here. There is another module called Devel. Now, I've covered Devel in the past. I use Devel a fair bit to generate content, especially for these live streams. I use it a lot, especially Devel Generate. And it's been a module that I often use because it is just a very useful module to have locally. You don't want to have it switched on in production. You want to avoid possibly even having it on in production as well. I think with Composer, you can have dev dependencies and standard production dependencies and things like that. So over the years, there's been a bunch of quick key functions, and it keeps changing, and I always forget which one it is. But the useful one that I like is, so again, with Devel, you need to install it. I've already gone ahead and install it, so just grab the correct version. I believe, well, no, you can install both. So I'm not really sure what the difference is between 5.3 and 5.4. Wait, there must be a reason. No, doesn't really explain. Ooh, let's click on reporting. I always love to see that. Okay, this ain't bad. So it peaked around there and it's slowly gone down, but it hasn't drastically gone down. But you can see that overall, the Drupal 8 and up, it's kind of taken over. Good. So what I recommend you do is come over here, have a look at it, and then just download the version that is required. And then come over to your Drupal site, and what you want to do is just install it. And we've already have it installed because, that's right, we have WebProfiler, okay? So we've already got it installed, which is great. And what we can do is jump over to our code and type in what is it, DPM? Yeah, there's a few of them. If you click on here, okay, there is a whole bunch of them. I think I used to use DSM because, and I love this, I'm even reminded how old I am just by looking at code sometimes. Because this is an alias for historic reasons. It's like, of course, that's what I used to use. Then I feel old. Well, when your Drupal membership is 19 years old, then, yeah, you're getting there. You're getting along in age. Anyway, so run DPM. And the good thing about DPM is what it does is that it outputs the same dump functionality, but it places it within a message region. And that's important because often the message region is configured, if your Drupal site's configured correctly, is configured in an area that is easy easy to see and very visible, because the message region is actually, if we go to block layout, status messages, it is this one. So essentially it adds it as a message through the status message. So that'll be through the highlighted region. So that's why I do like to use it. It's nice and easy to use. Now, the other feature that you get from Devel is backtrace. So debug backtrace. If we hit that one, that's just going to give us a backtrace, essentially. That's about it. So this is, again, great if you're just testing out a Drupal site, you haven't got your full setup running, or maybe you're on somebody's computer and they don't have Xdebug installed, or they're not using they're not using DDEV, which they should. Just use DDEV, makes life so much easier. I use DDEV for WordPress sites and also Laravel sites as well, and Drupal sites, and it's great just using the one platform for it. So use DDEV for everything. Everything that's PHP related. I'm sure you can use it for other things. Anyway. So when it comes to exporting out variables, I mean, DDEV has a lot. Devel, or Devel, however you want to pronounce it, I'm probably pronouncing it wrong. Devel has a lot of options, and all you need to do is spend a bit of time in the module and just take a look at what is available. You'll see that there are a few of them. Now, there is another module that was part of Devel, but it was moved out into its own submodule, and that is called Kint. And Kint is a library that displays the variables that's outputted in a specific way. It gives you a bit more information. You can search for things. It gives you properties, methods, static methods, and things like that. But one thing I did notice is that it does kind of slow things down if you do have a variable with a lot of information in it, like the variables variable in a template. And you do notice that the snappiness of the website's probably like an extra second or so. Now, using this is relatively simple. What I do recommend is you use it with Devel. So come along here and download the correct version. And if we come in here, and I did see it right here, there we go, we have Kint. Now, Kint does not have a dependency on Devel, but it does integrate nicely with it, because if we install it, so let's just give that a moment. And we go to, where is it? Where are you? Development. Devel, there we go. And we scroll down, you will see variables dumper. Okay. By default, it is a Symfony var dumper, because that, I believe, comes with Drupal. Okay. Again, we're getting off the Drupal island. We're using other components, but now you get Kint. So that's another option. So let's click on save. And if you do go back to configuration and search for, there we go, there's Kint, you can configure a few items. So here is an example of what it looks like. You do get a lot of decent information out of here. You can even click on this. You can even expand it. You can, where is it? Search for things. So if I type in cache, you can highlight it, bring it up. You can drill down. You can see the methods. There is a lot, but just be aware that with all this information means that the page isn't that snappy. So if absolute speed is required for your Drupal site building, then just be aware of that it is a little slow. So if we refresh, you can see it is, well, it's also loading up the web profiler. Maybe that's slowing it down. But you do have other colors you can, and themes. Okay, that's a bit different. That is a bit different. So you do have a few options here, okay? But if you want to use it through Devel, what you can do is, let's go back to development, Devel, and just make sure it's selected right there. Easy. And let's come back here. And we can use, best of all, where is it? We can use the same function. So good old DPM. And we refresh. And now we're going to get that same information outputted through the message area. And you can see, and you can just drill down. Deprecation. You can even click on, I think, this button here, and it gives you a nice, this is actually pretty cool. So many times, I get always warning errors because I don't build out the array correctly. That is pretty cool. And then you click on down here, and if you want, you can expand it. It's a little too small, which is very useful. Very useful. So if you're like, okay, I want to get this particular array, I can come along in here, click on that, and there you go. You've got it. Now, the final thing we're going to take a look at before we move on to other things is how to save arrays or print arrays to the DB log or to the database log. Now, let me bring up a bit of code, because this is something that I do sometimes, especially if I'm integrating with third-party services and I have a REST interface and I just want to output some information. So here you can see that we are using the Drupal logger, and you put in your channel name, whatever you want. And then here I'm putting in a warning. This can be info, you can be all sorts of stuff. But most importantly, you can do a printer, and by using the pre and the code element, it kind of formats it nicely. So if we then save this, and let's just hit this page a few times, and we go to reports, recent log messages, you will see this right here. And if you click on it, you'll see a nicely printed array. I mostly do this if I integrate with a REST API, and I want to log every single time a request goes through. Of course, if you're dealing with like thousands and thousands of requests a second, it may not be feasible, but there are other solutions out there. But more often than not, we're not dealing with massive websites. Let's be honest. I wish I was dealing with. Well, actually, no, I don't want the responsibility to have to deal with a massive website. But this is useful whenever you do like a JSON encode or decode, and you just want to log things. This is a nice way of just logging it out to the database. All right, so we have a question on Kik. Nice, didn't see that. Drupal. I love this. The question is Drupal or WordPress? Well, both. I use both. Why not both? They're two very different platforms, in my humble opinion. There we go. There we go. Okay. So before we jump on to other things, I just want to also show you how to print variables in Twig, because sometimes you may want to open up your Twig templates. Let's bring that up. And this Twig template is actually, where is it? Is this page, because this is a standard page. So what I'll do is I'll turn off, let's remove that. Actually, we'll get rid of all that. Don't need it. Okay. So if we come along here, refresh a few times, okay, we have a standard page, which is great. Now, what we can do is we can just pop in and use the dump function. And then any of these variables will be displayed the same way. Okay, so that's just a simple way of outputting exactly what is being passed through in a Twig. Because I don't know about you, but I often get confused with this stuff. It's like sometimes you're kind of stabbing in the dark to see what actually works, and it does take a bit of getting used to. Knowing exactly what is available. Now, for dump to work, you do need, where is it? It is, we go to development settings, you do need this Twig debug mode on. So just be aware of that. It needs to be on. All right, so when it comes to outputting a variable or printing out a variable, exploding a variable, just seeing what is available, you do have a few options when it comes to that stuff. Now, a common thing you will often hear is developers will say just use Xdebug. Now, what is Xdebug? Well, Xdebug is an extension for Drupal that allows you to add step debugging. So it works with your editor. So it needs to be configured in your environment, and it needs to be configured in your editor. So that's the important part. Back in the day, it was actually very annoying to set up because you had to first of all set it up in your environment, and then you had to set it up in your development environment. And then if things just broke, you wouldn't know how to fix it up. But nowadays, with using DDEV, it's pretty easy to set up, and using things like PhpStorm, there's like zero config or zero touch configuration. And setting it up in VS Code is actually very simple as well. And so I want to show you how to set it up in VS Code and also PhpStorm, but also via VS Code, because VS Code is our free editor, and a lot of people do use that. So if you want to learn more about it, just Google xdebug.org. And to use it in DDEV, all you need to do is type in DDEV and then Xdebug and then on. And that's going to just switch it on. By default, it is off. But so if we switch it off, and one thing to be aware of is that it does slow down PHP because it's doing a lot of extra things to grab extra information in the request. So generally, if you don't specifically need it, I would recommend that you turn it off, especially if you're doing good old Drupal click-based development where you're just clicking through a lot of pages, because you can actually achieve a lot if your local Drupal site is super fast, because you're clicking through so many browsers and tabs and things like that. So unless you specifically need it, then just have it off. And I think you can also type in Xdebug status, and that's going to tell you if it's on or off. All right. So there is a page. Do I have that up? No, I don't. Okay. There is a DDEV page that I highly recommend. And that is how to set up step debugging with Xdebug. And most importantly, you do have your setup, which is PhpStorm and Visual Studio or VS Code. All right, so setting this up, as I said, is pretty straightforward. You just need to follow a few important steps. So first things first, jump into VS Code. So here is my VS Code. And you first want to make sure you have PHP debug extension installed. So what you can do is come to Marketplace and search for PHP debug. And if you search for that, just find PHP debug and install it. I've already installed it because I use it, but go ahead and simply install it. Next is you need to go to terminal, run and open configuration. So if you go to run and you can't see, not configuration, yeah. So if you go to run and you cannot see the open configurations as clickable, click on add configuration and then click on PHP. Because what that does is that actually gives you a launch.json. So if you are setting up a site, if you're setting up a brand new site and you're using VS Code for the first time in the project, you just get a settings.json. You do not get a launch.json. And all we need to do is change this bit of code. So if we jump back here and we click on, where is it, this snippet, just grab this little bit. Make sure you grab the pre-launch task and post task as well. Just grab that. And the name should be listen for Xdebug. And we're just going to replace it in there. The port needs to stay the same. And that's it. And also make sure your JSON is correct as well. Now we need to set up these tasks. And that is, again, relatively simple because we have here, it's actually explained it to us. So all we need to do is go to terminal, configure tasks, and then create a new task from template, and then select other. And this then gives us just a tasks.json. The good thing is that if you do set this up once on another project, you can just copy this stuff across because it is just JSON files, and that's it. So once you know how to set it up, it's pretty easy to set up. And you could probably set this up at a user level. I'm not really a VS Code expert, even though I do have it always opened up and it's always there. But I mostly use, especially for PHP, I mostly use PhpStorm. So if we click on it, all we have to do now is just grab the whole thing because it is the only thing there. Of course, if you do have other tasks, you want to merge it in yourself. But it's important to make sure that the labels match, okay? Labels here match these labels right here as well. And also remember to actually save it. That's one thing I don't like about VS Code. It doesn't auto save. Maybe there is an extension for it, but I'm just used to having it saved in PhpStorm. All right. So once everything has been configured, now you don't have to. The good thing about these tasks is that you won't have to manually switch Xdebug on or off. It will do it all for you. Because what we can do is come back into VS Code and let's go to a bit of code. So I'll go into our .theme. Well, let's actually, no. Let's not go there. Let's go into core. Olivero, and let's do a big one so we can see it straight away. Here we go, right here. So what I can do is I can add in a breakpoint there, and let's go to debug, and we can start listening. And what it's going to do, you can straight away see that it started listening to it. And if I bring this down, and if we go to this, so this pre-process underscore HTML is always run on the page, that I do know for sure. And if we refresh, it now has hit that breakpoint, and we can see information right here. We can see the variables. We can drill down for this information. Let's just zoom out a bit so we can see it. Let's bring that down, bring that down, bring that down, and you can see everything right here. Okay, you can see you can drill down. Absolutely, you can drill down. Now, if we click on step over, this will allow us to step pretty much over the code, and that's kind of like running down your current page of code. If we wanted to step into, then you would click on step into, and that would go into the function. And again, if you want to go through it, then it's simply going to go through it, and then it's going to jump out. Where is it? Yep, jumps out there. And if we click on the continue, it's just going to finish off rendering everything. And if we come back here, it has loaded everything up. All right, so again, if we stop that, that means it's going to be turned off. But again, all we need to do is click on the play button, and it's going to start it for us. You can see here, it's actually switching it on. And if we come back here and refresh, There you go. We have our variables here on the left-hand side, and we can just make our way through it. So let's say, for example, we want to go into the get settings. We can step into it, and we're straight away in that function. And then within here, we can be like, well, actually, I want to see how this works. Okay, cool. I can see that cache now gets added in. Yep, you get all this information. That's great. You can also set a value. You can also copy a value. You can make your way through it. And best of all, if you're like, actually, let's jump back out. If we click on step out, we can then step out of that. We'll step out again. And now we're back here. And we can jump back in to this function, make our way through. And then we can step out and just continue our way through it. And then we're done. And another thing you can do, so let's just put a debugger there, and you can put multiple debuggers. So this is useful if you want to figure out where, sometimes you're trying to figure out, okay, how is this code actually running? And you put a debugger and you put a breakpoint somewhere, and you run it and nothing's working. Like it's not getting picked up. And you're like, okay. So that can mean one thing. Well, no, that can technically mean two things. Either that bit of code isn't getting executed, or your setup's broken. It can be one or the other. Or the third option, especially if you're dealing with the theme level, you have caching turned on. So if you do want to add a debugger in here, make sure you turn off caching and cache rendering, because it's not going to get picked up. It will be cached. So you just want to be aware of that, okay? Caching plays a huge part in this, because there's nothing more stressful than you trying to figure out for like 18 minutes why your debugger's not working, to realize that, oh yeah, that's right, because caching's turned on. Okay. Yeah, it's happened to me far too many times. So if we chuck a debugger in here, and let's go ahead and let's chuck it in, where is it? Where were we previously? All right, let's put it in here. And let's put it in here, okay? This is actually a great way to see the order of things. Because if we now switch on the debugger, which function do you reckon is going to get called first? You think about it. Does Drupal render from the inside out or the outside in? Does it render from the parent base theme into the child theme, or from the child theme into the base theme or sub theme? Let's have a look. Okay, so it's done node first. And we can come along in here, and if we click on continue, it's then going to go to the next breakpoint as well. And this is great for just trying to figure out the steps on how things are executed. Now, this information is just general debugging, not really specific to this. So you can do the same concept in any type of debugging tool. Any type of debugging tool. And so we can continue, make our way through here, and continue it. And that's it. And that should finish it off, render it. And there you go. And if we refresh, and if you just want to turn it off, you can just turn it off and that's it. You also want to make sure you turn off your breakpoints. Where are they? Because sometimes they just pop up. Down here, I think you can, right down at the bottom here, you can just clear them. I've had situations where I've had like 10 different breakpoints, and trying to set everything up correctly. All right. So as you can see, setting up breakpoints is pretty easy. Honestly, it's very, very easy. Now let's set this stuff up using PhpStorm. So let me just remove this, make sure everything's working, and everything's working perfectly. Okay, cool. Now, PhpStorm is relatively simple. All you need to do is switch on the listener up the top here. And if you are configuring it for the first time, you will get a single pop-up. But all I need to do is jump over to the terminal and switch it on. That's the first step. And if I refresh, okay, you will get, this is the dreaded, I hope you can see that. Oh yeah, you can, above me. But this for me is like the dreaded message. Debug session was finished without being paused. Because there is nothing more annoying than spending like time trying to figure out how code is running and you're like, why isn't it getting picked up? Why isn't it getting picked up? But the reason why it's not getting picked up is because we haven't put a breakpoint in there, that's why. So what we can do is, let's do the same thing. Let's go to Olivero and let's just test that everything is working. Let's pop it in there, put the debugger in, fresh, and now it's just picked up, okay? And we can just, again, make our way through it. Very similar. This is very similar. We can step through our items. And then you can see what has changed. And you can see the stack trace here on the left-hand side. Now, normally what I do, and I would love to get people's opinion about this, if somebody can let me know a better way, like often when you are debugging things, you will debug it, and then let's say you come to HTML, you're like, okay, cool. There is process, and let's have a look here. Okay, this is calling up this function. All right, now I need to remember this particular structure, and I always take a screenshot of it. I use Snagit, and I just take a screenshot of it just so I know what's been actually rendered out. I don't know, that's just me. If anyone has any other little tips and tricks, let me know. And then once everything is working, what you can do is just simply continue it, and it's just going to continue running, and that's it. And the concept is exactly the same. It is exactly the same. Now, what I want to do is, let me just quickly create a module, because I want to show you one little feature of these like step debugging, and that is called watches, where you can watch a variable. So what we're going to quickly do is let's quickly create a module. So I'll create a module first. I'll call this one custom, used for custom, very original. Yes, I know. And we've installed it. Okay, great, clear. Now, if we come along in here, and where does it go to? Modules, you'll see it right here, okay? Beautiful. See, did you just see how quick it was to create a module using Drush? I would spend more time explaining it to AI. So that's why sometimes it's just better to write a function. All right. So now what we need to do is create a controller. So what I want to do is create a controller. So I can type in DDEV generate controller. I can spell it correctly. And then we need to select our actual module machine name. So this is where the controller will be added. But the problem is this is an autocomplete field. Problem is we can't see our module. Why is that? Well, that is because we need to install the module first. That is a step that I always forget. So what we need to do is just simply go drush en, what is it? Dub custom. And this module is literally just a .module file, and that's it. So nothing should break. It won't. All right, let's clear that. So it's right at the top so you can all see it. And if we come back here, now we should see, there we go, custom. What we're going to do is we're just going to create a custom controller. And there is always some caching, so let's just clear the cache. All right, cool. Let's grab that path. Let's go to it. Oh, where is it? And hit enter. What? There you go. I've got my debugger right there. Let's turn that off. Where are all these debuggers coming from? Oh, okay, let's switch that. And let's remove that. All right. All right, let's just refresh that. And here is our custom controller. Okay, so if we come back here, you can see that it is relatively simple. It's a very simple one. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to be a bit lazy and I'm just going to chuck in some code. because I can't be bothered typing because it is late here. And what we're going to do is this. That's the whole thing. All right, cool. All right. So what we can do, okay, this is a pretty simple setup. It will load up all of it. It'll do a entity query. So let's actually create another page as well, just to what is it? Add test page, and I'll chuck an extra one. Make it published, and let's go back in content and let's publish the privacy policy. All right. All right. So now if we come back here, let's refresh. What did we get? We get a beautiful page with just three items in a list, essentially with the titles, and that's it. Okay, very simple. It simply loads it up. It grabs the nodes, does a multi-load, and then just loops through it and outputs it out as a item list. All right. Now, first things first. This is a great opportunity for me to actually show you the benefits of using Xdebug instead of all the other methods that I showed you earlier on. So forget no, I'm joking. I don't want to say forget what you learned, but you can imagine it's like, all right, you have to debug a problem here, and you want to see what's coming out of node storage. All right, you can put in DPM node storage. Thank you. Go with that. Refresh. All right, you can be like, okay, cool. Let's take a look at this. All right, so that's coming out through there. Okay, you can spend a bit of time. Okay, all right, cool. And then you come back here and you're like, all right, cool. Let me see what's coming out of nodes. Again, DPM. Okay, nodes. All right, the autocomplete does make life a little bit easier. Let's be honest. I do like that, and it is getting much better. And you come along here, and you're like, all right, cool. Now you have two, and you can see that. I don't know if you can notice in the actual stream, but it is pretty laggy because it is loading up a lot of information here. You click on this and it's like, all right, cool. I've got now 3 nodes. Awesome. Okay, and you can draw down and so on and so forth. Okay, you can even grab that information. Now this is pretty cool. Okay, you can easily grab that information and come along in here. You can see that it is exactly which class it is. It's invoking, and you can see all the methods. Let me see. Why is there view? No, there is a get field. I always forget the exact value. Get value. But then there's a get and set. There is a magic property, isn't there? Properties, like a value property. Anyway, yeah. So that is one way of debugging things. Now, the other way is actually just stepping through it using Xdebug. So let's get rid of all this stuff. Don't need it. And we can just put a debugger in there. Switch it on. Very important up the top here. You want to switch it on. And if we refresh, there we go. Okay. You can actually see how quick it is. And then you can just make your way through it. You're like, all right, bam. What's this? Node storage. All right, cool. Make my way through it. And you will notice that as things change, it does highlight blue, I think. Again, then we have nodes, because nodes is up here. Oh, sorry, NIDs. We have that. And we can see up the top here exactly what's changed. And then we can slowly make our way through it. And of course, this is great for like just being able to loop through it. Now, if you go through here, you will see that this will change, okay? All right, click on this. Again, it's changed. You will see also that it changes here as well because we are looping through it. And you're slowly making your way through it, okay? And then you finally get, where is it? Build, which is the most important one, and it is rendered out, okay? So you can get a lot more information just by using Xdebug. And if you're serious about doing some heavy Drupal development, I recommend that, yeah, you want to use Xdebug for it. You just want to get really comfortable with it. Now, another thing you can do is you can put watchers in there that actually watch variables as they change. So let's say, for example, we have build up the top here. What we can do is we can add in, so let's just hit this again. Let's go here. And let's put in a watcher of build. Why is that? Let me just bring this up. All right, cool. All right, here we go. Add watcher. All right, build. And often you might be in a situation where a variable further down has a certain value and you want to see it change as you are executing through it. So what we can see here is we can slowly make our way through it, and then this actual watcher will then change as we go through, and you can see that here it has changed. You still have the main one there, but most importantly, you've got this one here, which will then change as you are executing your bit of code. So it's a great way if you have a variable that has some type of default value, and the value will change just as you're executing through it. And it's just a great way of watching your changes. All right, so the other thing we'll look at just before we finish up is how to use the Devel breakpoint in Twig. Now, believe it or not, you can put in a breakpoint in Twig, but it doesn't quite work the way you would expect it. You can't do step debugging. Well, I couldn't get it working. So if anyone knows, please hit me up. I'd love to know. So if we put in this Devel breakpoint right here, what I'll do is I'll turn off this debugger. Oh, sorry, this breakpoint, don't need that. All right, so we've done all of that. Let's go back here. So put this Devel breakpoint. And what's going to happen, let me switch this on. Let's refresh. Well, nothing's going to happen here because that is the node. So what we need to do, no, that isn't a node. So what we need to do is, go to the home page. And I do believe, let's close that, close that. Let's close that. Where is that? Output variables. All right, cool. What it's done is that it's actually stopped when it hits that breakpoint. Now, it is a little hard to kind of see what's happening, but for me, the most important thing is you can get access to the context. And these are all of the variables that are getting passed through to the node template. So I find this actually pretty useful because sometimes it's hard to figure out exactly what variables are being passed. Like, yes, there's documentation, but you can't be guaranteed exactly what's being passed through it. So if you chuck it in there, all you need to do is open up context, and then you can see what is available. And you do get some good information there. And so you can drill down. My hardest thing is trying to figure out the actual syntax. Maybe AI can sort that out. Maybe just give it to AI and it's like, figure it out. Figure out the Twig syntax. And I know I'm going to get comments about people who don't like Twig. I always mention this, but there's this always like love-hate relationship with Twig, where people either love it or hate it. I'm kind of in the middle of it. You know, it's like, yeah, it's a bit annoying sometimes, but I know enough of it now to get by. And again, Twig is a Symfony component, so believe it or not, you know, getting off the Drupal island. Back in the day, we had PHP template where you could write PHP. Well, wasn't PHP a templating language to begin with? That's what I thought. Anyway. All right, so that is it when it comes to debugging and using Xdebug in PhpStorm. So you do have a few options. You have VS Code for debugging, you have PhpStorm, and just make sure that you have debug set up and running. So just a quick recap. If you want nice error pages, take a look at WebProfiler, Ignition, and also WebProfiler gives you a nice little profile toolbar down at the bottom, which is great. Then at the same time, we have Devel, we have Kint, and we have finally Xdebug. So I think that is it. Anyway, thanks for joining. If you have any questions, please leave a comment. If you want to learn more about Drupal, head over to webwash.net where you can learn all about Drupal. And I don't know, I feel like I do want to play around with other CMSs and other things. I don't know, we'll see. We'll see. Because I am planning to do that nice little build system where we are building a site in multiple ways in Drupal. And one of them is to have it as our Next.js front end, but use Drupal as a backend. It's gonna be fun. That'll be fun. And I am going to start posting more blog posts. Well, mostly I'm going to try and get a lot of these live streams up as blog posts and just like show notes as well. Because I think I'm just losing a bit of traffic because I don't have anything on the site because I just didn't have time to do it. Because trust me, doing a blog post like this takes a while. You would think AI can write a lot of it. It's not that good. I always see the stuff that he writes and it's like, nah, no chance, no chance. Anyway, if you have any ideas for any future videos, please let me know. Anyway, that is from me. Thank you so much. And I will catch you all next week. Okay, that was fun. All right, let's now take a look at the questions. Sorry if I've missed any questions. All right, that was fun, fun, fun. All right, so where was that that comment about using some other module? This is where I like to play around with things. Okay. All right. Yes, Anita. Well, believe it or not, yeah, I mean, when it comes to decoupled Drupal sites, there's some decent information out there about it. But yeah, it needs to kind of be put together nicely. That's the plan. I'll be meaning to do a decoupled one for Drupal for a while, but it's just need a good setup. Need to actually build something decent. All right, where's this raw debug log? Debug module. Oh, I have to put Drupal in front or behind it. Okay, raw. Oh, there we go. All right, cool. Oh, it's a shame. One install. Let's install it. Let's make it number 2. Let's make it number 2, eh? All right, raw debug. Let's give this a go. All right, nice. Oh, look at that. Perfect install. Just worked. Just worked. Oh, thank you. Another good comment. All right. All right, so that's cool. That just worked, which is great. And let's take a look at it. So what's that called? Raw debug. Look at the README. Raw debug, for example. In WP uploads. Oh, okay, that's cool. Back everything up. Mixin world debug. All right, that chucks it in there. Directories, logs. So there's a bit of WordPress stuff in here. Interesting. Okay. So then I am curious. So summarize. How is this meant to, is this just a mixture? Is this meant to be just one module that works for both Drupal and WordPress? Oh, cool. Thanks for the stream, man. No problems. Well, I'm really confused by this. What is this module? This must be it, right? Raw debug. That's the one he mentioned in the comments, right? Drupal raw debug module. I assume that's it. Drupal. Yeah, I see only one, right? See only one. Okay, this one's very interesting. The fact that you have. Yeah, I've never seen it done in this way. We have WordPress code. All right. Okay. After doing the above, wait, let's take a look at this. Yeah, that's setting all that stuff up. That should be fine. Oh, okay. Let's do that. Copy the same. All right. Copy the raw into the same directory as is the file into. All right. Yeah, the following line. All right. Let's give this a go. And let's see. Let's see what's going to happen here. All right. That one of that. Is this even going to work? I'm just following the recommendation. Clear the cache. I didn't think that was going to work. So dir includes. Wait, where is that stuff? No, it's this one, right? Where is that? Let's see if this does it. All right, include. All right, that's being included now. And what? Now we just need to. So at the bottom, yeah, usage. For example, save tokens. Can I just copy this and see if this actually works? Let's see. This is always fun when I'm testing out new things. I have no idea if it's going to work. Let's have a quick look. No, that's not going to work. But what's going to happen here is save tokens. Let's just pass in something test here. So I just want to see this actually in action. All right. Or it's done something. Well, it hasn't failed. That's good. And then what? It goes into files. Nah, there's a lot here. Anyway, interesting. Interesting. All right, cool. Well, let's just leave it up. Let's just leave it for now. Hope everyone has a great weekend. And I'll catch you all next week. See you later.